ये जो हल्का हल्का शुरूर है ये सेंट स्टीफेंस का कसूर है.
Men who ruled India. So later on, somebody else wrote an article about the next generation of elite. And that is the IAS and so on. And I think that book was called The Men Who Fooled India. Ek to hai Gandhian tradition. I'm not a great believer in that. Gandhiji's view was go back to villages. And I share the view of Ambedkar that villages were a den of iniquity. And the idea that village republics would be an ideal of equality is completely wrong in my view. And I think technology was also very important, and Ambedkar was very strong. कि भाई अगर हिंदुस्तान ने डेवलप करना है तो you must have modern technology. Gandhiji was not so enthusiastic. Mind you, Gandhiji's achievements are enormous. Narasimha Rao deserves huge credit, by the way, for backing the reforms. Okay, if he had walked out, the reforms would have been finished. But the person selling the reforms was always Manmohan Singh. Narasimha Rao's approach when people ask questions was say, you ask Manmohan Singh, he'll explain it to you. So it was a good jugalbandi on their part, which I think is quite sensible. Basically, when he called Manmohan Singh, Manmohan Singh said, look, it can be handled. I wasn't there, but Manmohan Singh told me, it can be handled, but I can tell you we'll have to do a lot of things which will give you political difficulty. So Narasimha Rao said, look, you do what you have to do and you leave the politics to me. And then he said, if you succeed, we will share the credit. If you fail, you'll get the blame. And that's a very fair, Manmohan Singh himself told me, that's a very fair offer.
Fair deal.
But he was a very unique person actually. There's a combination of utter honesty, extraordinary simplicity, and when I say honesty, he really believed that you should hear different points of view.
जब न्यूक्लियर डील चल रही थी उस वक्त डॉक्टर सिंह ने ये कहा था कि मैं रिजाइन कर दूंगा अगर ये नहीं हो पाई तो उस वक्त ये कहा जाता है कि सोनिया ने आपको कॉल किया था, सोनिया गांधी ने, कि आप
ये कहा जाता नहीं, ये मैंने बैक स्टेज में खुद लिखा है. Yes, it is true.
सर आप ओवल ऑफिस भी गए थे उस टाइम एंड यू वर क्वाइट इम्प्रेस्ड बाय जॉर्ज बुश. और आपने मेंशन भी किया है कि उन्होंने कहा कि हिंदुस्तान में 120 मिलियन से ज़्यादा मुस्लिम्स रहते हैं. आई एम क्वाइट इम्प्रेस्ड बाय दैट फैक्ट दैट none of them had joined Al-Qaeda.
Yes. That was a very strong, there was a very strong perception of India at that time that in spite of a very large Muslim population, India was not the source of some of the kind of anti-Western movements that were coming out of some Islamic countries. That is true. I will say one thing कि जो आपने planning commission नाम है ना, ये बड़ा old fashioned है. It reminds people of the Soviet Union. वो खत्म हो गई in 91. And I said that even the Chinese no longer have a planning commission. They have a commission for restructuring and reform. तो आप इसका नाम भी change कर दो. And you should do something different. Vajpayee was a very wise person. He thought about it. He never used to respond very quickly. He thought about it. He said, नहीं, जो आप उचित समझो वो करो, लेकिन नाम नहीं बदलना, क्योंकि अगर नाम बदल दिया तो लेफ्ट नाराज हो जाएगी. I was really surprised that he's bothered about whether the left would get annoyed or not. I agree with you कि हमारी जो poverty line is low.
आप आंकड़ों के खेल में बात को बता रहे हो, मैं आंकड़ों के पीछे जो लोग हैं उनकी बात करना चाहता हूँ.
नहीं देखिए
4,000 नहीं 32 रुपए मतलब उस वक्त भी बहुत कम थे और ये बड़ा एक रिडिकुलस तरीके से लोगों ने देखा था. देखो क्या मतलब प्लानिंग कमीशन क्या कह रहे हैं.
But seriously, अगर आप क्वेश्चन रेज करो कि भाई इज दिस द करेक्ट पॉवर्टी लाइन, मैं तो कभी ऑब्जेक्ट नहीं करूँगा कि बहुत लो है.
सर आपको नहीं लगता एक वो बंदा जो ऑक्सफोर्ड यूनियन का प्रेसिडेंट रहा वो एक बहुत ही अच्छा पॉलिटिशियन हो सकता था?
नो, आई डोंट थिंक सो.
क्यों?
Because you see, to be a politician you need different skills, and to be a president of the Oxford Union You have to persuade other members of the Oxford Union. That's a very elite group. To be a political leader, you have to persuade the people. And there's no proof, to me, there's no satisfactory proof that I could actually do that.
अगर प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी आपको फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर बनाते हैं तो पहली चीज़ आप क्या करोगे?
नहीं, I would say that I'm age-wise ineligible.
कौन सी पसंद है आजकल आपको पार्टी?
नहीं, वो तो देखो, one of the essential things in a democracy is the right to vote in secret. So
थैंक यू सो मच ये वीडियो देखने के लिए। और आपको अगर हमारा कंटेंट पसंद आ रहा है, हमारी वाइब पसंद आ रही है, हमारे द्वारा बनाए गए वीडियोज़ और इंटरव्यूज़ पसंद आ रहे हैं, तो प्लीज़ थोड़ा सा हमारे को डोनेट भी करिए, थोड़ा हमारे को सपोर्ट भी करिए, क्योंकि हमारे को बहुत मेहनत और एफर्ट लगती है इन वीडियोज़ को प्रोड्यूस करने में, ताकि हम क्वालिटी कंटेंट प्रोड्यूस करते रहें। सो सपोर्ट अस। थैंक यू सो मच। Hi sir, good to see you. How are you doing?
well, thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for coming, sir. It's entirely our privilege to see
Nice
you.
to be here.
Do you like to watch movies?
Yeah, I do. I see you have a lot of nice movie posters. I think most of these I've seen, but not all. So I'm making a note.
What kind of movies? Like Hollywood or Hindi cinema? कौन से वाला आपको ज़्यादा
I
पसंद?
watch both actually.
हाँ. So we have something special for you. This is I really like this movie. This is The Shawshank Redemption. This is for you.
This is for me?
Yeah.
Wow.
आपने
Oh,
देखी है?
Shawshank, yeah, I've seen this.
हाँ?
But this is a Hollywood movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen this.
This is a Hollywood movie. कैसी लगी आपको? This is completely based on inspiration and I really like this movie. और IMDb rating पे भी सबसे ज़्यादा है ये.
Acha. No, I mean it's a genre. I'm watching a wide variety, but I quite like these detective fiction type movies, spy movies, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And historical movies actually. I
Okay.
quite watch those also.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
So sir, अगर हम स्टार्ट करें इस तरीके से, आपका नाम है मॉन्टेक, इसका मतलब क्या होता है? You have such a unique name.
हाँ, ये इंटरेस्टिंग स्टोरी है क्योंकि एक्चुअली मेरी पैदाइश हुई थी 1943. Okay? तो उस वक्त सेकेंड वर्ल्ड वॉर वाज गोइंग ऑन and the Indian soldiers were in North Africa. I think 8th Army or something. तो उस वक्त General Montgomery was leading the Allies against General Rommel on the German side. तो न्यूज़पेपर्स में Montgomery को लोग मोंटी कहते थे.
अच्छा, मोंटी.
हाँ, that was his nickname. So newspapers were full of General Monty does this and General Monty does that. So you know, they picked up that nickname because in a Punjabi family, they want to feel good things about their kid. They say, "Ye to Ami mein jayega," because I had no intent later on. But they said, "General Monty banega." So then I got the nickname picked up. So when I had to be properly named, my father said, "But let's give him a name which is consistent with the nickname."
Okay.
क्योंकि सब aunts and uncles इनको मोंटी बुला रही हैं तो name should reflect that.
Okay.
So my father said we'll call him Montek.
Montek.
हाँ.
Okay.
और उसका spelling होगा MONTEK.
Okay.
तो लोगों ने कहा कि भाई MONTEK को Montek कैसे कह सकते हो? तो मेरे फादर ने कहा भाई अगर MONDAY Monday है तो what is wrong with that is the origin of the name. But of course nobody ever called it Montek. When I write in Hindi, Devanagari, it is Ma and Na.
अच्छा.
But somehow it became Montek for everybody.
Okay.
That's the story.
Okay.
Amusing.
Okay. So sir, आपके early days सिकंदराबाद में, your father were posted at that time and you were born in Rawalpindi.
I was born in Rawalpindi. We were in India at the time of partition. So we did not experience any, although my uncles and all, they came after, at the time of partition. We were posted initially in Saharanpur,
Okay.
which is near Ambala.
हाँ.
And uske baad when the, what we call the police action happened, Hyderabad was integrated into the Indian Union. The Indian Army moved in, right? And after a while, the accountants had to come.
Okay.
And my father was on the defense accounts side. So we all moved to Secunderabad. And that's where I stayed for the first, I don't know, 7 years or so.
And after that you reached to Delhi.
हाँ 1957 में हम
हाँ
दिल्ली आ गए थे.
जो डबल प्रमोशन वाला सीन था आपके फादर का, वो उन्होंने लिया नहीं या दिल्ली तब वो आए?
हाँ एक्चुअली डबल प्रमोशन नहीं था. वो IDAS के ऑफिसर नहीं थे. उन्होंने मतलब सर्विस ज्वाइन की थी एज अ क्लार्क वे बैक इन दोज डेज. दैट वाज देयर वर नॉट टू मेनी अपॉर्चुनिटीज. लेकिन सिस्टम ऐसा बन गया था कि इफ यू आर परफॉर्मिंग वेल, अच्छा काम कर रहे हो, तो फ्रॉम द रैंक्स बिफोर यू रिटायर यू आर मेड IDAS. You can write after your name. जगमोहन सिंह IDAS. हिंदुस्तान में इस टाइप ऑफ थिंग की काफ़ी वैल्यू है. तो उन्होंने कहा कि देखो वी रियली लाइक योर वर्क. आई मीन दिस इज इन 1957 50 so we really like your work and we want to promote you to IDAS. That gives you prestige.
Yes.
But if you are the newest IDAS, you will be given charge of a small office. You know, like a young man of 25 साल का IDAS न्यू रिक्रूट को कहीं छोटी सी ऑफिस में भेज देते हैं. तो तुम्हें भी वहाँ भेज देंगे. यू विल बी हेड ऑफ द ऑफिस, बट छोटा सा ऑफिस होगा. अच्छा. और वो आपके लिए शायद इतना अच्छा नहीं होगा बिकॉज यू हैव फैमिली एट्सेट्रा. तो ऑल्टरनेटिव ये है कि हम आपको दिल्ली पोस्ट कर देंगे. अच्छा. ओके. नो प्रमोशन बट जस्ट इन योर प्रेजेंट रैंक. तो एक्चुअली उन्होंने केयरफुली सोचा कि बच्चों के लिए, मेरे लिए और मेरे ब्रदर और सिस्टर के लिए एजुकेशनल बेनिफिट बहुत होगा अगर हम सिकंदराबाद से दिल्ली गए. सिकंदराबाद वाज ओके, लेकिन अगर सिकंदराबाद से और भी छोटा शहर में जाना पड़े तो वहाँ तो स्कूलिंग विल बी टेरेबल, राइट. सो उन्होंने कहा फॉरगेट द प्रमोशन, आई वांट टू गो टू दिल्ली. अच्छा. सो रियली अ बिग फेवर डन टू मी. Because frankly, I mean, if I had not gone to Delhi, I would not have gone to St. Stephen's College. Probably I would not have got the Rhodes Scholarship, so I wouldn't have been able to go to Oxford. So big life-changing decision.
तो आप सर स्टीफन्स कैसे पहुंचे फिर?
वो तो खैर उतना in those days इतना मुश्किल नहीं था. I mean, I was a good student in Delhi Public School. तो मैंने competition.
I'm also from Delhi Public School.
Okay, मथुरा रोड?
नहीं हरियाणा वाले.
अच्छा. नहीं, in those days there was only one Delhi Public School, मथुरा रोड. No, I mean, you know, I was underage when I got through my school. तो एक साल मैंने before I joined the university थोड़ी इकोनॉमिक्स अपने आप पढ़ी, थोड़ी फ्रेंच सीखी अलियांस फ्रांसेस से. लेकिन फिर मैंने डिसाइड किया कि मैंने इकोनॉमिक्स करनी है. तो इन दोज डेज मेरे ख्याल अभी भी होगा. देयर वाज एन एग्जामिनेशन इन दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी फॉर अ स्कॉलरशिप. And either a day scholarship or a residential scholarship. In those days, a day scholarship was 25 rupees a month. And that was roughly equal to the college fees in St. Stephen's College, right? And the residential scholarship was 100 rupees a month, which is kind of roughly what it cost to be in residence, and maybe a little less, okay? And I managed to get the residential scholarship. So admission in St. Stephen's was automatic.
Okay. सर आपका लाजपत नगर में घर था तब? और
मतलब कहाँ था?
लाजपत नगर में रहते थे आप? लाजपत नगर
3E19. क्या नाम है जो हॉस्पिटल है ना, मूलचंद, उसके पीछे.
और आप साइकिलिंग भी बहुत करते थे. आपने लिखा अपनी बुक में कि साइकिल करते हुए हुमायूं टॉम, लोधी गार्डन और सफदरजंग टॉम.
दिल्ली वाज अ वेरी ओपन सिटी विद नॉट टू मच ट्रैफिक. मतलब एट द एज ऑफ जैसे 15 साल की उम्र पे पेरेंट्स को कोई फिक्र नहीं था कि भाई साइकिल करके जा रहे हैं, हुमायूं टॉम जा रहे हैं, ये सब. बिकॉज टुडे इट्स इम्पॉसिबल, यू नो. करेक्ट.
सो सर काफ़ी बदल गया, आपको नहीं लगता? दिल्ली काफ़ी बदल गया.
जो सारा एरिया समझ लो लाजपत नगर से ईस्टवर्ड, पंचशील पार्क, ग्रेटर कैलाश, ये सब नहीं थे उन लोग.
ओके. सर आप सेंट स्टीफन्स में डिबेटिंग सोसाइटी में थे और आपके वहाँ पे मणिशंकर अय्यर और ये सारे के सारे
डिबेटिंग
इंटरेस्टिंग पर्सनालिटीज
सब लोग करते थे.
और किस पे आप डिबेट करते थे? एग्रीकल्चर पे?
नहीं, डिबेट्स एक्चुअली डिबेट सब्जेक्ट्स कुछ नॉन कंट्रोवर्शियल और बड़ी अनइंटरेस्टिंग होती थी. हम ये कभी नहीं डिबेट करते कि जो सरकार कर रही है गलत है. हम डिबेट करते थे things like progress depends on unreasonable men. I mean,
Yes.
some kind of vague statement. Big difference between debates in St. Stephen's College and Delhi University and, let's say, debates in Oxford. Because in Oxford, they were on current political events, यहाँ पे sort of, it's a long tradition that we've kept away from. And St. Stephen's College particularly, वो अपने आप को बड़ी स्पेशल सोचते थे कि हम पॉलिटिक्स में नहीं जा रहे। तो उनका माइंड सेट था कि भाई हम सिविल सर्वेंट्स बनेंगे। सिविल सर्वेंट्स डोंट गेट इनटू पॉलिटिक्स। सेंट स्टीफेंस कॉलेज नेवर जॉइंड द यूनिवर्सिटी यूनियन। Many of our later politicians in Delhi were from the Students' Union. I mean, Arun Jaitley, for example, was from the Students' Union. St. Stephen's College, nobody was in the union. In fact, our most politically active people, Manishankar Iyer, Arun Shori, they were not in the union. वो डिबेट करते थे लेकिन they were not in the union.
ओके ओके सर, किसी ने बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग बात कही थी सेंट स्टीफेंस के एलिटिज्म के बारे में कि ये जो हल्का हल्का शुरूर है ये सेंट स्टीफेंस का कसूर है।
It was elitist. There's no question about it. I mean, but in those days, you have to remember, we had not recently, but we'd become an independent country. So इनका थिंकिंग ये थी कि भाई जो पहली एलीट थी वो अंग्रेज़ों की एलीट थी। अब उनको हटा के हमने इंडियन एलीट डाल दी। Now that was a very thin layer. अंग्रेज़ मतलब there were a couple of thousand of them in the whole country. We made a little thicker layer than them, but it was not really representative.
Okay.
So they prided themselves on being the elite.
Okay.
So there's a very famous book, I forget who wrote it, called The Men Who Ruled India.
Okay.
It was about a lot of very senior British civil servants, viceroys, etc. The men who ruled India. So later on, somebody else wrote an article about the next generation of elite. And that is the IAS and so on. And I think that book was called The Men Who Fooled India. And it is a valid point, because actually I would say we were not aware of it adequately. That we just replaced an English elite with an Indian elite, still elite, but an Indian elite.
तो सर आप तो सिविल सर्विसेज में जाना चाहते थे, आप फिर कहाँ रोड स्कॉलरशिप में, तो आपने एक्सपेक्ट भी नहीं किया था वहाँ पे, सो वो कैसे हुआ?
एक्चुअली मतलब अपनी काइंड ऑफ विजन या जो सेट ऑफ अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ हैं वो बढ़ जाती हैं व्हेन यू गो अब्रॉड। और उस टाइम पे मुझे पता लगा कि आई डोंट वांट टू बी अ सिविल सर्वेंट। सिविल सर्विस यहाँ वो अभी भी है कि वो अपने आप को जनरलिस्ट समझते हैं। तो ये अगर आप इकोनॉमिस्ट बनना चाहते हो और सिविल सर्विस में जाओ, देयर इज नो गारंटी कि आपको इकोनॉमिस्ट के जॉब देंगे। सिविल सर्विस जनरल पर्पस सर्विस, एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन करते हैं, यहाँ जाते हैं वहाँ जाते हैं। देयर इज गुड बंच, वेरी ब्राइट पीपल, बट दे आर जनरलिस्ट। मुझे वो पसंद नहीं था। आई वांटेड टू बी एन इकोनॉमिस्ट, आई वांटेड टू वर्क ऑन पॉलिसी। So I decided that forget the civil service. And then, the World Bank was recruiting actively around the world. They wanted an international staff. तो उन्होंने application मांगी। तो कई हम लोग ने not just Indians but others also ने apply किया, got in. तो मैंने सोचा कि मैं वहाँ जाके 3-4 साल देखूं कि वर्ल्ड में क्या होता है। I mean, I wanted to go back to India, but I thought कि पता होना चाहिए what is happening in the world, what is the world like, not just filling our mind with our own ideas. And then I went to Washington DC. Within a couple of years, I met Isha, then Isha Judge, who later became my wife, Isha Judge Ahluwalia. So we got married. So a decision to return to India got a bit postponed.
Okay.
But उनकी भी यही idea थी कि must go back. I wanted to go into policy in government. She wanted to go into research on India, but not in government. So we both had the same idea. And then, our first child was born, my son Pavan. And we said, she was very clear. You cannot bring up children abroad and expect them to go back to India. So अगर
Naturally.
वापस जाना, you better go back and
Huh.
bring them up in India. So we both. I mean, I got a job in the finance ministry, economic advisor,
Okay.
and she said I'll find something to do on the research front, which she did,
Okay.
and that's what happened.
ओके सो सर इसी पॉलिसी और इकोनॉमिक्स पे हम बात करेंगे, उससे पहले एक छोटी सी आपका जो ऑक्सफोर्ड का जो पूरा का पूरा टाइम था उस पर थोड़ा सा बात कर लेते हैं। आप प्रेसिडेंट इलेक्ट हुए ऑक्सफोर्ड यूनियन के,
हाँ।
और ग्रीस कर्नाड भी हुए थे और एक और जेंटलमैन भी हुए थे। सो आप 3 इंडियन ही थे जो अभी तक हुए हैं। और ये जो ऑक्सफोर्ड के जो बच्चे लोग हैं वो बहुत चर्चा करते हैं आपकी वहाँ पे अभी भी, जब भी इलेक्शंस होते हैं कि मॉन्टेक आलूवालिया लास्ट थे जो इलेक्ट हुए थे।
मेरे पहले क्या नाम है, गिरीश कार्नाड, very famous poet, theatre,
amazing man,
very amazing guy. He was president of the union, and there was another Iyer, I think, who was president, but I didn't know him much before me. So there were, I think, 3. No, I think also D.F. Karaka, the journalist in Bombay. I think he was also an office bearer of the union. So there were Indians who had worked in the.
तो आपका कैसे मन हुआ सर वहाँ पे इलेक्शन वगैरह ये ऑक्सफोर्ड यूनियन में?
You know, I mean,
that was so random.
I used to debate a lot, and I thought that people appreciated my debating. So when the time came, there was a more right-wing Englishman, Simon Hogg, who was standing. So generally the union में थोड़ा right, थोड़ा left. I mean, I was not really a left winger, but much more left than Simon Hogg. And all of us were anti the Vietnam War. Students used to take active interest in those things. So I used to speak against the American position on Vietnam. So a lot of people said, yeah, we don't want this Simon Hogg, you stand. I said, chalo, stand karte hain, you know. And got elected, that's
and
it.
you win at that time.
Yeah.
ओके सो सर अब स्टार्ट करते हैं 1947 जब देश आज़ाद हुआ, और आज़ादी के बाद एक हमारे को अपना मुल्क जब हमें बना के तैयार करना था, तो उस वक्त जो हमारे इकोनॉमी का जो विजन था वो जवाहरलाल नेहरू ने एक यूएसएसआर और प्लानिंग कमीशन और ये सब रखा। एक तरफ हम प्राइवेटाइजेशन की तरफ भी जा सकते थे, एक तरफ गांधीयन आइडिया भी था। तो वो जो विजन था वो क्या था, और क्या हमने प्लानिंग कमीशन और इससे हमने कितना कुछ अचीव किया लिबरलाइजेशन तक?
I mean, जो मैं अब कहूँगा वो मुझे उस वक्त पता नहीं था, because after all I was very young. But having looked at it, you are right कि different visions थे. पंडित जी और सुभाष चंद्र बोस दोनों लेफ्ट विंग थे
जी।
तो ये सारा जो प्लानिंग का आइडिया था, it was really in their mind. I think 1930 something में, before the war, Subhash Chandra Bose was president of the National Congress. So he had set up a development planning committee chaired by Pandit Nehru. Okay, so they had a few businessmen also in that group. तो उन्होंने एक प्लान बनाया था. Separately, Bombay में a bunch of businessmen, the Bombay plan, G.D. Birla, J.R.D. Tata, उन्होंने भी एक प्लान बनाया था. सब लोगों का आइडिया उस वक्त ये था कि भाई प्लानिंग का मतलब, डेवलपमेंट का मतलब ये नहीं कि स्टेट हैज़ नो रोल. स्टेट मस्ट प्ले एन इम्पोर्टेंट सपोर्टिव रोल. आफ्टर ऑल इन एवरी कंट्री जो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बनता है, particularly in early days before the capital markets developed, infrastructure used to be done by the state. The state has big role in education, health, and this kind of thing. Also, I think in those days, around the world, not just, except for America, public sector was regarded as an important thing. I mean, in Britain, जो Labour Party वाले थे, उनकी तो, they were strongly committed to having strong public sector. Now they rubbished it, but उस वक्त they were for the public sector. So our fellows naturally took these ideas. Panditji was also quite impressed by the Soviet Union. Many people were. And remember, the Soviet Union was a very backward country in the early 20th century. So from that very backward position, under a socialist government, they obviously industrialized adequately to defeat the Germans under Hitler. Okay, So generally the feeling was that if you want to transform yourself, मतलब agricultural society से अपने आप को change करना है, the industrial society बनना है, कि सोवियत यूनियन से हम सीख सकते हैं कुछ. और सोवियत यूनियन का मेन थिंग थी प्लानिंग और पब्लिक सेक्टर और एंटी प्राइवेट सेक्टर. एक्चुअली यहाँ पे अगर आप इंडियन कांग्रेस ट्रेडिशन देखें, एक तो है गांधीयन ट्रेडिशन. I'm not a great believer in that. Gandhiji's view was go back to villages. And I share the view of Ambedkar that villages were a den of iniquity. And the idea that village republics would be an ideal of equality is completely wrong in my view. And I think technology was also very important. And Ambedkar was very strong. कि भाई अगर हिंदुस्तान ने डेवलप करना है तो you must have modern technology. Gandhiji was not so enthusiastic. Mind you, Gandhiji's achievements are enormous. So, ठीक है, in this area I don't agree with him. But his big achievement is that he, more than any of these fellows, basically made Indians want to be part of the independence movement. And his judgment was this cannot be done by lawyers. And Pandit Nehru and Muhammad Ali Jinnah, they're all lawyers. And these other fellows also. And they are not going to be able to mobilize the public. To mobilize the public, you have to put on a dhoti, carry a stick, go around third-class compartment around the country. Only he had the capacity to do it. And he definitely mobilized the people. There's no question about that. So that's a huge achievement. But having done that, I would like to say that I don't think that his ideas of a modern economy appeal to me at all.
Okay.
And so in that respect, I'm much more with Nehru and with Subhash Bose. That we need to modernize. But they were not the only modernizers. I mean, after all, Rajgopalachari.
Yes, C. Rajgopalachari.
He also wanted modernization, but he didn't want this, what he called license permit Raj. उन्होंने मेरे ख्याल 1956 में कहा था कि भाई हमने ब्रिटेन से हमने ब्रिटिश राज से इंडिपेंडेंस नहीं ली थी in order to subject ourselves to license permit Raj from New Delhi. That is part of the Indian tradition, but nobody remembers that. So I think when I was being taught in St. Stephen's College, this aspect was not brought out. You know, the second plan is regarded as a foundational document of the planning group, okay, which is true. And in order to create a consensus, because Panditji's whole approach was that we must get everybody together and see what their views are. Ye nahi ki maine keh diya and it's done. And there was a committee of economists, outside economists, not sarkari economists. And they were asked to make comments on the second plan document. Now, in that, I think M.R. Shenoy, or B.R. Shenoy, from Bombay, he had written a minute of dissent. I don't agree with this plan. Too much control, too much deficit financing, etc. Now, interestingly, I was going through my college years in the early 60s. And we used to learn about the second plan. But we were not told, okay, boss, there was a lot of difference, but we ignored the difference. And I think that was a pity. We weren't seriously told. I mean, after all, Rajgopalachari was he became Governor General after Mountbatten.
Yes.
Then, of course, Rajendra Prasad became the first president. I don't know what Rajendra Prasad's view was on these matters, but because he never pronounced them. But I think there was more difference of approach in those days than we were taught.
Okay.
So I personally think that all the fellows who wrote books on economics in those days were a bit over subordinate to a left-wing view. I mean, a lot of what they said was right, you know, but it was too much. It was too uncritical, in my view.
And also at that time, Nehru also called Milton Friedman for a particular memo.
Yes, in Panditji deserves a lot of credit for his open-mindedness. Because, you know, general view is that Panditji had a low opinion of America. I mean, he knew it was very important, but, you know, he was a bit more European-oriented. Mindset was more European. That's what he knew, Okay.
हाँ.
But nevertheless, he invited Milton Friedman to come and visit the Planning Commission. He was the chairman of the Planning Commission, as the Prime Minister normally is. And Milton Friedman came here. I think it was either late 50s or something like that. And he wrote a memo. And he wrote a memo both to Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru and to his own government. The same memo given to his guys. In that memo, he said that the Indian plan is thinking too much on factories made of cement and not enough on developing its own human capital. You should be concentrating on educating your people. All this factory focus is not that important. Now, today, everybody thinks this was brought back into focus, really as an economist by Amartya Sen.
Yeah.
But what people who now say Amartya Sen was so right, they don't point out that in the late 50s, Milton Friedman has said exactly the same thing. And if you go back, forget the British for a minute, go back to your own, the princely states. I mean, Kerala talked about education before India became independent. And the idea that people must go to school, people of all castes must go to school, these things were there. And after all, I mean, Ambedkar's got a scholarship by Gaikwad of Baroda.
Baroda, yes.
So, but somehow these are never picked up.
और सर अभी भी स्कूल्स हमारे प्रायोरिटी क्यों नहीं है?
नहीं, अभी देखो प्रॉब्लम
मतलब
ये
अभी तक भी हम उस तरीके से
ये जो आप क्वेश्चन पूछ रहे हो बड़ा इम्पोर्टेंट है. क्योंकि आज अगर किसी से भी पूछो तो वो कहेंगे कि इंडिया इज लैगिंग बिहाइंड इन द क्वालिटी ऑफ स्कूल एजुकेशन, ऑल्सो हेल्थ, बट दैट्स अ सेपरेट इशू. नाउ हमने पता नहीं कब से कह रहे हैं हम कि भाई बड़ा इम्पोर्टेंट है. सी वी मस्ट मेक अ डिफरेंस बिटवीन स्लोगन्स एंड व्हाट यू डू. स्लोगन में तो हम फर्स्ट रेट रहे हैं फॉर इयर्स. ऑल गवर्नमेंट्स इवन इन द पास्ट, nobody has ever said that education is not important. They'll point to some chapter. देखो हमने कहा या education is important.
और ये हमने किया.
I think the real problem is I don't think that our governments and our planners knew what to do if you think education is important. Most fundamental thing of all is कि हमारी interpretation कि भाई एजुकेशन इज़ इम्पोर्टेंट, हमने कुछ करना है, वो रुक जाती है कि हाँ हमें पैसे देने चाहिए, बस स्कूल एलोकेशन पैसे दे दो. बट द सिस्टम इज़ नॉट प्रोड्यूसिंग गुड क्वालिटी. एंड द रीज़न इट्स नॉट प्रोड्यूसिंग गुड क्वालिटीज़, एक तो आपने टीचर्स को बहुत बर्डन किया हुआ है, दूसरा उनको ट्रेन नहीं किया इन मेथड्स ऑफ पेडागोजी, तीसरा हमारे जो स्टूडेंट्स हैं, हमारी सोसाइटी बड़ी फ्रैगमेंटेड है. अगर आप स्कूल टीचर बन जाएं कहीं विलेज में जाओ, ठीक है, तो कुछ मे बी 5% चिल्ड्रन होंगे फ्रॉम अपर कास्ट, 5 नहीं मे बी 15-20 इफ यू टेक अपर क्लास ब्रॉडली. इनके घरों में शायद लोग लिटरेट हैं, अब तो डेफिनेटली हैं, बट इवन 20 ईयर्स पहले हैं. बट द रेस्ट ऑफ द स्कूल्स चिल्ड्रन, उनके पेरेंट्स लिटरेट नहीं थे, तो उनको सिखाओ कैसे. अब स्कूल टीचर कहती है होमवर्क. हमारे मिडिल क्लास आइडिया में है, बच्चे मदर से हेल्प लेते हैं कि भाई ये होमवर्क समझा दो, फादर से भी हेल्प. मेरे फादर ने, मैंने लिखा है बैक स्टेज में कि मेरे मदर का यंगेस्ट ब्रदर आर्मी ऑफिसर थे, ही पास्ड अवे, ही स्लिप्ड इन द हिमालयाज, एक्सीडेंट हो गया, वूंड बिकेम सेप्टिक, ही पास्ड अवे. तो बिग शॉक. हम लोग वापस गए. माई मदर वॉन्टेड टू कम टू दिल्ली फॉर द फ्यूनरल एक्सेट्रा, और उन्होंने मुझे भी ले आए यहाँ पे. तो स्कूल को कह दिया कि भाई मैं 1 हफ्ते के लिए ये बच्चा स्कूल में नहीं जाएगा. माई फादर फेल्ट कि अरे बट देन ही विल लूज आउट. सो ही सेड भाई मैथमेटिक्स में लूज आउट नहीं करना चाहिए, रेस्ट ऑफ द स्टफ यू कैन पिक अप. तो ही गॉट परमिशन फ्रॉम द प्रिंसिपल कि भाई मैं क्लास में बैठ के You let me sit in the class, I'll take notes so that I can tell him what he's missed on maths.
Oh.
Now, it's actually, if you ask me, totally unnecessary. But it just shows, the feeling that my kid must learn. I don't think if you go down the caste structure, if parents are not literate, how would they understand the benefit of this? And therefore, what you teach children, you have to teach them according to their level. But most of our teachers, what happens is, top 10% बच्चे हैं, they are intelligent, they are bright, they are following, teacher focuses on them. The rest are just told कि ये तो बुद्धू है. So as a result, 80% of the kids don't learn. फिर आपने बड़ी egalitarian policy introduce करी कि कोई बच्चा फेल नहीं होगा. क्लास 1 से क्लास 2 ऑटोमेटिक. हाँ, हम लोग ही नहीं किया.
आप लोगों ने किया.
मैंने पर्सनली नहीं किया, बट ये हमारे टाइम में हुआ.
कपिल ने किया ये थी.
Whatever, doesn't matter. Kapil is a good fellow. My point is that this is a classic example of poor thinking, but it also reflects lack of social involvement. अगर आप पेरेंट्स से पूछें कि भाई ये हमारी नई पॉलिसी है कि तुम्हारा बच्चा ऑटोमेटिकली प्रमोट हो जाएगा, पेरेंट्स आर वंडरफुल, बट ही इज ओनली बीइंग प्रमोटेड अप टू क्लास 8. तो अगर आप डेटा देखें तो everybody is getting promoted up to class 8. That's when the first exam is held, and then 40% drop out. But and if they drop out, then they can't go through their school either. So they technically have up to class 8, but that quality of education is also terrible. Only 10-15% are really learning, the rest are not learning. Now, unless you address these things, you can't really do a good job on education.
इसका solution क्या है फिर सर?
No, my solution is decentralized. Central government has no idea of what is good schooling. So we made a mistake by converting the subject of education into the concurrent list. It used to be in the state list, which meant that the center could make no laws. We converted it into the concurrent list. That and the central government also gives money. Then whichever babus are distributing the money, they want to control everything. Now, frankly, I think what you need is schools must have the full flexibility of utilizing their own funds. Today, if you happen to be in any state and you know that a certain amount of funding is available for repair of the building, let's say, you don't, as principal, you don't have the right to use that money. You have to get approval from the state capital. Ab dekho, in a big state like UP, everybody is sitting in Lucknow. Somewhere in East UP, if a school needs some money, can you really expect permission to come from the department? It will take weeks. Why can't we just delegate? Let's do that.
Sorry to interrupt, sir. पर इस बात में तो गांधी सही है, जिनसे आप डिसएग्री करते हो. वो तो यही कहते थे कि आप रूरल में आप जाओ, वहाँ के लोगों को आप स्ट्रेंथन करो, वहाँ के एजुकेशन सिस्टम को वो करो, तो उससे ये सब चीजें होंगी. आप दूसरे शब्दों में वही बात करें.
Anti-Gandhi. मैंने आपको पहले भी कहा. नहीं, but what I'm saying is that where Gandhiji, I think, was right was in arguing in favor of decentralization. That is, leave the decision making at the bottom. Okay. By the way, I don't think he was himself a very democratic person from that point of view. Because if he had left decentralization to the Congress party, his decision that Panditji was the right person to lead it may not have survived. So, you at one level you have one slogan, but at another level you have a different slogan. But I agree with you that the panchayat, either the district, but actually the Gram Sabha, the Gram Panchayat, should have the right to make decisions about the school. You will immediately run into a problem because people will say, "Ke bhai, wahan to fir caste will become the dominant factor," which is we also know is a problem. But the belief that somehow we are going to overcome caste by centralizing is comprehensively wrong. Okay. You have to decentralize, you fight it there. You encourage the scheduled castes or the OBCs to express their view, help them, get civil society to get involved. You know, civil society can always make people aware of what is good for them. And for example, no civil society person said that automatic promotion is a bad idea.
Okay, that's the thing. Sir, थोड़ा सा पीछे चलते हैं.
चलिए.
वीपी सिंह के साथ आप ट्रैवल कर रहे थे मलेशिया और आप लोगों की
मैं उनकी टीम में था. आप ऐसे दिखा रहे हैं कि हम ट्रैवल कर रहे हैं.
आप उनकी टीम में थे. हाँ. पर आप इतने पावरफुल इंसान तो रहे हो सर, मैं ये तो कह ही सकता हूँ आप ट्रैवल कर रहे थे.
नहीं ट्रैवल करे भी छुट्टी. मेरे ख्याल वो गए थे. इट वाज द Commonwealth Prime Minister's meeting. So I was in his staff as special secretary. So I was there with his team.
So उन्होंने आपसे कुछ रिफॉर्म्स के वगैरह के ऊपर अपना ओपिनियन मांगा और आपने एक 30
नहीं, ये इंटरेस्टिंग स्टोरी है. आपके व्यूअर्स को अगर उन्होंने बैकस्टेज नहीं पढ़ी तो मैं बता देता हूँ.
हाँ जी प्लीज.
एक्चुअली 1973 में वीपी सिंह थे डेप्यूटी कॉमर्स मिनिस्टर, डेप्यूटी मिनिस्टर ऑफ कॉमर्स दिल्ली में. तो उन्होंने वो मलेशिया गए थे कोई ऑफिशियल विजिट, और उसी टाइम पे मैं वर्ल्ड बैंक में था और मैं भी मलेशिया विजिट करता था फॉर द वर्ल्ड बैंक. तो वीपी सिंह साहब अपने विंडो में होटल की विंडो से कुआलालंपुर को देख के उन्होंने कहा कि you won't believe this. I used to come in 1973 and this was a sleepy town. तो मैंने कहा सर आप बिल्कुल ठीक कह रहे हैं. I also used to come from the World Bank in 1973. It was a completely sleepy town. So he said, look how they've developed. How come they've done that? मैंने कहा क्योंकि they're doing economic reforms and we are not. Then he said to me, अच्छा you write me a note on what should we do. मैंने कहा ठीक है हम लिख देते हैं. Now, before that, when Rajiv Gandhi was Prime Minister, my immediate boss was B.G. Deshmukh, who was a Maharashtra-based former cabinet secretary who had become principal secretary to PM. Or Deshmukh Sahab was a very progressive, modern, and sort of pro-private. Coming from Bombay, he was more pro-private sector than most cabinet secretaries. In those days, most of the cabinet secretaries were either from Tamil Nadu, who tended to be a little too government-oriented, or from UP, who were very government-oriented. Deshmukh knew that the private sector can make major contributions. He was more oriented towards that. So when Rajiv Gandhi went in for the election, Deshmukh had said to me that, we've been trying to persuade राजीव जी टू मेक चेंजेस, और उन्होंने काफ़ी चेंजेस किए हैं लेकिन इतना रिजल्ट नहीं आ रहा. तो मैंने कहा दैट इज़ बिकॉज वी आर डूइंग थिंग्स बिट बाय बिट. मेनी चेंजेस नीड अदर चेंजेस. आप यहाँ पे कुछ चेंज करोगे, अगर ये नहीं चेंज करोगे तो इसका कुछ इफेक्ट नहीं होगा. वो LK झा जो हमारे बहुत सीनियर एडवाइज़र थे, उन्होंने एक बार राजीव जी को कहा कि राजीव गांधी ने भी कहा उनको कि भाई हमने काफ़ी चेंजेस किए हैं, और ही वॉज फॉर रिफॉर्म. वो काफ़ी एडवाइस करते थे, मुझे भेजते थे पेपर्स, समझा दो PM को एंड ऑल दैट. बट राजीव जी से भाई इतना फ़र्क नहीं पड़ रहा. सो LK झा मेड अ वेरी गुड कमेंट व्हिच आई थिंक आई हैव पेंशन इन बैकस्टेज. उन्होंने कहा सर द इंडियन इकोनॉमी इज लाइक अ कार विद सेवरल ब्रेक्स. They're all pressed on. Removing one brake will not make a difference. You have to remove all the other brakes. You need a comprehensive view. Okay. And so what I did was Deshmukh said, Acha, in case, at least we thought Rajiv Gandhi would come back. And when he comes back, we must give him a kind of balanced paper, what needs to be done. Now, technically, Planning Commission should be doing this. But they were locked into their old ways of functioning. नहीं कर रहे हैं. Planning, so ये
वो planning में ही लगे हैं.
हाँ, नहीं, I don't call that planning. Sensible planning would have been to do what I'm saying. They were doing whatever they were doing. And they were calling it planning. In my view, that's not planning. That is just repeating what your grandfather did, you know. So, I mean, I said, look, I'll write this paper. And then when Rajiv didn't come back, I mean, he had 194 seats. So in those days, I mean, he could have easily sat and tried to get few more, but he said, no, vote of the people is against us. We should sit in opposition. Very good democratic instinct. So when BP Singh said, you write me this paper, I pulled together what I was earlier thinking we would do for Mr. Gandhi and produced a paper. Now, I mean, VP Singh himself, by the way, he understood the importance of economic reforms. He didn't talk about it too much, but he understood. He sent that paper to the cabinet secretary and said, "Ke bhai, tum is pe charcha karo." So for 2 days, there was a meeting of the committee of secretaries on this paper. And the paper said we need a whole bunch of reforms in many areas. So my reaction बहुत ही interesting थे. Generally, finance ministry was not in favor. They don't like giving up control. Industry ministry, Amarnath Verma in particular, और उनके जो economic advisor उस वक्त थे, Rakesh Mohan, they were in favor. And Amarnath Verma came to the committee of secretaries meeting and he said, no, we are also in favor of it. One or two other secretaries also seemed to be in favor of this. Planning Commission was totally opposed. उनकी opposition बड़ी odd सी थी. उन्होंने ये नहीं कहा कि ये गलत है. उन्होंने कहा भाई, we are working on the plan. Why is the PMO doing this? So, Cabinet Secretary said, look, the Prime Minister has asked me to convene this meeting. Give me your views. You know, you can't raise this ridiculous objection. Anyway, that paper got leaked.
In Indian Express?
It was widely, yes. Well, it got leaked. I think it was first printed by the Indian Express. But then, of course, others reproduced it. And many people commented on it, which was very good because I found that, I mean, generally the left thought this was all rubbish. But many others said, but ye theek baat hai. Not everybody agreed with everything, but quite a lot of people agreed with quite a lot. And that showed that, to my mind, that even complicated matters can be subjected to a public discussion and should be. In fact, I mentioned this in my book that, you know, although I wrote the paper, it had no author. It was just a cabinet secretariat paper. But everybody knew that I had written it. And Ashok Desai, who was then a journalist, he said, well, everyone knows it was written by Montek Ahluwalia, but he's not admitting that. So let us just call it the M document.
Okay.
That's why it became called the M document. And it was later on, Manmohan Singh said that he had read it.
Yes.
And he liked the ideas and so on. So that was just, I wouldn't say that my paper was the basis of the reforms, but the paper put together ideas that existed, but had not been posed as policy choices. They were all known to people like Manmohan Singh were fully aware. I had discussed some of these ideas with him anyway. But, you know, for the public at large, it was very interesting because it produced a discussion. You know, people don't realize that there's a wealth of differences of opinion which should be, in my view, cherished. I remember going to Narasimha Rao University in Baroda. Because in those days, when we were doing the reforms in 91, there was a lot of demand from people. You know, let us know. And I spoke first with the faculty, senior people. They're totally opposed to the reforms. Because they were teaching, planning, ये वो.
Senior लोग हमेशा reforms के anti क्यों होते हैं?
हाँ? अब ये मुझे पता नहीं, आप सोचो. But I'll tell you my story. I said that, look, think about the future. So I said, let me ask these students before after I spoke. Let me ask the students what they think. So I asked the students, how many of you are in favor of reform? 2/3 of the hands went up. Whereas amongst the faculty, they were all opposed. You know? But, you know, I think we don't tell our teachers too much. I remember when Soviet Union broke up in 1991, December. Okay, then there was a lot of discussion on this in our home dining table, etc. My older son Pavan, was then about 13 or something like that, and he was in these discussions. As a young kid, you learn and so on. So in 1991 December, I mean, we were all the time saying, Soviet Union is cracked up, ye hai, wo hai, is no longer there. One day in Modern School, where he was studying, his teacher was reading out about the Soviet Union from the book. Well, the book said, Soviet Union, so many republics. Pavan got up and said, ma'am, it's all broken up now. So this is no longer true. So, but she was quite good. She said, Pavan, do one thing. I've also heard that these big changes are taking place, but we don't know. And the book doesn't say so, and I have to teach from the book. He said, will you please ask your father to do me a little note so that I can say that this has happened.
Okay.
But I don't want to say something that is not being covered properly. So, and I mean, things have changed so much. I mean, today, for example, I don't know what's happened in the state of Hormuz, whether President Trump has blocked it or opened it. Things are moving so fast that anything that you may have in your mind as the truth based on 10, 15, 20 years ago may no longer be valid.
Naturally.
And
Sir,
I think that's true.
मनमोहन सिंह जी से आप कब मिले लिबरलाइजेशन की अगर हम बात करें तो सबसे पहले 1973 के आसपास ही
Actually, मैं उनसे पहले मिला था because when Ishar and I came home visit के लिए, we were not married at that time. Let me see. Either 1969 or 70. Okay. A professor from Khalsa College. She used to teach for a year at Khalsa College. Udham Singh. He invited her and me to dinner and said he was going to invite his friend Manmohan Singh, who was then a professor at the Delhi School of Economics. So that's how we met.
Okay. So first
we were just chatting and
आपको उन्होंने बुलाया भी फिर वर्ल्ड बैंक से?
नहीं, I mean, he was obviously someone that I knew. He had come back to India, more or less doing the same kind of things that I wanted to do, although at that time he wasn't in government. Then shortly after that, he went into government. I used to visit India every year, more or less, and I maintained touch with him. He used to visit Washington, D.C. every year with a government delegation from the finance ministry for the World Bank annual meeting. So we would meet him there also. So we got to meet him after several such meetings.
Okay. So sir, जब लिबरलाइजेशन हो रहा था तो आप लोगों का क्या डिस्कशन होता था, उसका एक इनसाइड पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू क्या है, किस तरीके से आप लोगों ने नरसिम्हा राव जी को कन्विंस किया, या क्या चैलेंजेस थे उस वक्त में, या क्या आप लोगों को लग रहा था कि हम तो ऑलरेडी लेट हैं, ये तो पहले ही हो जाना चाहिए था, और किस तरीके की वो सारी प्रिपरेशन हुई, और उनमें मनमोहन सिंह जी की जो पूरी जो इज्जत प्रेस्टीज वो पूरी दांव पे भी लगी थी, तो वो क्या सिनारियो था, वो उसका इनसाइड पॉइंट
नहीं? हाँ, दैट्स एन इम्पोर्टेंट थिंग. ये मैंने इसमें जो भी मैंने कहा मैं उसको समराइज करता हूँ.
हाँ जी.
लेकिन अगर आपके कोई भी व्यूअर्स बुक को पढ़ रहे हैं, दैट इज अ बेटर अकाउंट. आई वोंट बी एबल टू समराइज इट ऑल.
और एक चीज़ मैं आपको रोकना चाहता हूँ सर, बुक के बारे में ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि ये जब मैंने बुक पढ़ी तो इसमें बहुत इजी फ्लो है. ऑक्सफोर्ड और स्टीफन्स वाले इतना मुश्किल कर देते हैं लैंग्वेज को कि अगले को समझ ही ना आए, कि वो पढ़ ही ना पाए, कि पढ़ के दिखाओ तुम.
ये इसकी क्रेडिट मुझे माय लेट वाइफ को देनी चाहिए.
अच्छा.
क्योंकि शी वाज वेरी इंटरेस्टेड, एंड शी आल्सो एन इकोनॉमिस्ट, वाज एन
इकोनॉमिस्ट. हाँ जी.
तो उनकी एक पॉइंट थी कि व्हेनेवर आई एम राइटिंग, सी यू आर नॉट राइटिंग द इकोनॉमिक सर्वे, प्लीज राइट इट फॉर ऑर्डिनरी पीपल. And I'm really grateful to her because you are right that people who write in government, they're always throwing slogans around. after a while you come to, even if you don't believe the slogan, you think the slogan describes the situation. It actually doesn't. It's much better to say what you are actually doing, although you call it some damn thing, whatever it is, right? And I'm not talking about the present. I'm talking about even those days. I mean, we always had these, economic development, inclusive growth, and this kind of. So, at any given time, what are you actually doing is not covered by the slogan. The slogans almost never change, but what you do changes quite a bit. So I think on this occasion, in '91, I mean, the crisis was there. Many of us had been writing about what we need to do. That writing was not based on the fact that we have a crisis, that we need to do it. But the crisis had to be handled first. And it was not, we were not in the situation where we are today. Okay? I mean, today, for example, we have $600 billion of reserves. So suppose you have a balance of payments problem, which we do. And one question would be, isko theek karne ke liye kya karoge? Okay. Then many people will have their own ideas. So you could have an idea कि भाई हम ये करेंगे और ये करेंगे ये करेंगे, हाँ टाइम लगेगा 3-4 साल लगेंगे, बट वी कैन कैरी ऑन क्योंकि काफ़ी रिजर्व्स हैं, तो अगर डॉलर्स चाहिए तो रिजर्व से ले लेंगे. ओके, दैट वाज सिंपली नॉट पॉसिबल इन 91. I mean, the dollars had completely run down, and finance ministry was sitting tight, not even releasing money. I was then commerce secretary, and hundreds of exporters would come to me and say, "Sir, we need $2 million in order to fulfill an export order of $10 million. So, अगर आप 2 million अभी दे दो, तो 3 months में आपको 10 million मिल जाएंगे." Finance minister would say, "मैं 2 million कहाँ से लाऊं?" So the simple thing was to stop the exporters from exporting. And if the balance of payments is a problem, the even simpler thing is stop imports. Now that is a downward spiral, which it was. And then Cabinet Secretary Naresh Chandra, very good guy, he told Narasimha Rao when he came in that, look, you are taking over a complete mess, and I'm going to explain that a select group of people will meet you and will tell you what the problem is. So 5 or 6 of us were called. And of course, everybody agreed that it's a crisis. I mean, there was nobody who said, "Nahi hai, theek hai saab, we'll manage." Usually the finance ministry approach used to be, "Don't worry, we'll manage." We'll manage means we'll stop the import. Right? Even the finance ministry recognized that there's a crisis. Of course, people had different views on what to do, but it was very clear that he needed to do something. And Naresh Chandra had told Narasimha Rao ji that don't just have a politician as finance minister. It's a complex business, and 2 things have to be done. One is you've got to understand the problem, for which you need a technocrat. But more importantly, the technocrat must carry credibility internationally, because people have to judge that does this guy know what is needed so that we can judge that he'll actually do it and we can give India the benefit of the doubt. And after some discussion, he chose Manmohan Singh, who was one of the obvious choices. He chose it. And basically, when he called Manmohan Singh in, Manmohan Singh said, "Look, it can be handled." I mean, I wasn't there, but Manmohan Singh told me, "It can be handled, but I can tell you we'll have to do a lot of things which will give you political difficulty." So Narasimha Rao said, "Look, you do what you have to do, and you leave the politics to me." And then he said, "If you succeed, we will share the credit. If you fail, you'll get the blame." And that's a very fair, and Manmohan Singh himself told me that's a very fair offer.
Fair deal.
And so when he took over, he knew that he had very little time. And the most important thing was to negotiate an agreement with the IMF and the World Bank that we are going to do the things needed to bring the situation under control. One of those things clearly was to devalue the currency. Because with that huge shortage of foreign exchange, it was very clear that you needed much more imports than you could get. And therefore, you really had to change the exchange rate. The moment you change, the problem is when you change the exchange rate, it doesn't mean that the system responds immediately. You change the exchange rate, exporters begin to think, maybe exports are now profitable. So let's try and get some orders. It'll take about 8 months or 9 months for the exports to happen. Meantime, the money that the IMF and the World Bank give enables you to finance yourself. So the money is connected with the corrective step. Okay, and the other corrective step is to cut down the fiscal deficit. Because if you have a large fiscal deficit, that means too much demand in the system. And so he was able to negotiate that successfully. These guys in the IMF and the World Bank knew him very well. And he'd been working in Indian teams since the early 70s, going to Washington every year, etc. So they had no doubt that Manmohan Singh understood what needed to be done, and they gave him the benefit of the doubt. And the real achievements of Manmohan Singh is that he didn't just stabilize the situation. That would not have been that difficult. What we agreed with the IMF was very limited. Fiscal deficit cut, devaluation, hopefully it'll stabilize. It did. But I think he used that opportunity to make a number of other changes which were not necessary for stabilization, but which put the economy on a new path. And that's what I would call the reforms. All these damn things we did, get rid of industrial licensing, etc., etc. It's a very long list. And I've done the Prime Minister's museum and library invited me to give a lecture on Manmohan Singh's life and times, which I did, in which I've explained all this for the common man, if you like. And I'll send you a copy of that if you give me your email, and you can put it on your podcast so that people can watch it also.
Yeah.
Okay? So that end result is that a number of things got started. Not all of them got completed, but many did get completed.
Okay.
And that is what the beginnings of the economic reforms were.
तो सर आप लोगों को पता कब लगा कि ये रिफॉर्म्स जो हैं इनसे ग्रोथ हो रही है?
2 साल के बाद.
2 साल के बाद.
पहले साल तो मेन थिंग वाज पहले साल के भाई इकोनॉमी स्टेबलाइज हो रही है कि नहीं. क्योंकि रिमेंबर 91, 92 the first year growth was down to 1.4%. Okay? So in the next year it rebounded. So हमें पता लग गया कि भाई it's getting stabilized. 1993 में ओरिजिनली हमारा आइडिया ये था कि इतनी जल्दी स्टेबलाइज नहीं होगी, हमें एक सेकंड लोन वर्ल्ड बैंक से लेना पड़ेगा. ओके, वर्ल्ड बैंक ने कहा कि हाँ हम देते हैं, तो अगर नहीं स्टेबलाइज हुई ज़रूर विल गिव यू एन एक्स्ट्रा लोन. बट बाय 1993 हमें साफ दिख रहा था कि ये लोन की ज़रूरत नहीं पड़ेगी. तो हमने उनको कहा भाई थैंक यू वेरी मच, we don't need this loan now because the economy will manage on its own. So by 1993 it was very clear. Matlab 1.5 or let's say 2 years after the reforms began, it was very clear that the economy has got back into a growth process. But by it was about 96 or so that you could also see that the growth process is actually quite positive. Matlab it's better than it used to be earlier. I think if you look at the reforms, any reform in India always takes time to get fully in place. Laws pass होते हैं, फिर rules notify कर. हमारी attitude है कि when the government decides to pass a law, that is announced as a reform. Okay, I mean this has been there for years. Then it takes some time to pass a law. Until then the law is not passed, but it's passed a law. Then it takes time to notify it. Until it's notified, it's not a law. After it is notified, rules have to be done. Because how do you implement the law? You need rules. So this process itself typically takes 1.5 years. If you are setting up a new institution like SEBI, हम SEBI को set up कर रहे हैं. how SEBI will behave, what rules it will follow, will it be well managed, will it be well staffed. It takes 3, 4, 5 years for that to happen. So there's a long time. Therefore, to judge the effect of the 91 reforms, I think you have to look at the whole period from 91 to, let us say, 2001.
Okay.
इसमें दो चीज़ें हैं बहुत important. एक तो नरसिम्हा राव जी की government, and on the economic side, that was really Manmohan Singh. Narasimha Rao deserves huge credit, by the way, for backing the reforms. Okay, I mean, if he had walked out, the reforms would have been finished. But the person selling the reforms was always Manmohan Singh. I mean, Narasimha Rao's approach when people ask questions was say, you ask Manmohan Singh, he'll explain it to you. So it was a good jugalbandi on their part, you know, which I think is quite sensible. But their government ended in 1996. They were replaced by the United Front. United Front had the Communist Party of India, not CPM, but Communist Party of India, inside the team. But they continued the same reforms. Those fellows were replaced by Vajpayee ji, NDA, number 1 NDA. Vajpayee ji also continued the same. A little bit of difference here and there. You know, if reforms are going to be taking a lot of time, it's very important for subsequent governments should own the reforms.
Okay.
It doesn't matter if they say we are doing better than them. That's okay. That's part of the democratic. But they shouldn't reverse the thing. And I think this is important. So if you take the whole period before 1980, during 1980s, the growth rate of the economy had improved to about 5.5%, but it was not sustainable because it ran into a problem at the end of 80s. In the period 91 to 2000, the growth rate was 6.5% and sustainable. There was no crisis in 2001. So I think the reforms clearly made a difference, but they didn't necessarily produce the Chinese kind of phenomenon. Where, you know, they were able to do so many things so quickly and so definitely that their growth rates improved by 2 and 3 percentage points.
Okay. So सर, जब आपको डेप्यूटी चेयरमैन बनाया गया प्लानिंग कमीशन का, डॉक्टर साहब ने आपको कॉल किया और आप यहाँ पे आए और फिर आपने चेयरमैन आप उसके बने. इसके पीछे की एक स्टोरी ये भी है कि आपका नाम जो है वो सजेस्ट किया था हरकिशन सुरजीत सिंह जी ने, और एक्चुअली तो ये था कि मनमोहन सिंह जी आपको फिनमिन बनाना चाहते थे, फिनांस मिनिस्टर, पर सोनिया ने रूल आउट किया और चिदम्बरम को बनाया गया. और उसके बाद हरकिशन साहब ने कहा कि इनको प्लानिंग कमीशन में आप ले लीजिए क्योंकि एज ए कैबिनेट रैंक वो आपकी ईयर एंड आए होंगे और आप वहाँ से कंसल्ट कर सकते हैं.
नहीं,
so, क्या सिनारियो है? ये लिखा है एक किताब के अंदर में.
किसी ने लिखा है ये?
हाँ.
कौन?
हाउ प्राइम मिनिस्टर्स डिसाइड, नीरजा चौधरी.
Achha, Nirja said that. I must check with her where she get that from. No, I have
That's
no.
the book.
Achha, I have no idea at all, and I doubt that. Given that Chidambaram was present, and given that Chidambaram had actually been a critical element of the reform team, I don't think that Manmohan Singh would have wanted to jump me in as finance minister. So I doubt. I don't. The only time when he spoke to me was when I came back via Delhi a few days after the government had been formed, and just to congratulate him. And he said, "No, you must come back. And what would you like to do?" And I said, "Look, there are two things that I can think of. One would be to work in your office in the PMO, in some suitable position, and the other would be to be deputy chairman."
Okay.
And I said, I would actually prefer the deputy chairman's position because I'd be more able to help you than if I'm simply in your office. There are enough people in your office, and I can give you some outside input of how things are happening. Okay. I don't think I was being considered at that time for finance minister.
Pakka.
Well, I mean, it's always nice to think, but I'm in 2004. I don't think so.
Okay, not in 2004. और इसमें एक बात और भी लिखी जाती है कि आपकी जो प्रॉक्सिमिटी थी प्राइम मिनिस्टर डॉक्टर सिंह के साथ में, वो ये थी कि योजना आयोग के बाहर नेताओं की और डिप्लोमेट्स की गाड़ियाँ बहुत ज़्यादा रहती थी रादर देन प्राइम मिनिस्टर के रेजिडेंट के।
No,
और
that is only because it's easy to come to me. But ये बात ठीक है that in those, see, I think
लोग सिफारिश करने आते थे आपके पास?
they don't do sifarish, you know, but lots of people would come to discuss कि भाई इस बात पे गवर्नमेंट की क्या राय है, okay? And I would always say, well, I don't know what government's view is, but this is my view. So maybe they found it useful. Maybe they thought, since I know the prime minister, I couldn't be giving them a completely odd picture. But yes, quite a few people, both business people and diplomats, would turn up.
Okay.
But there's nothing wrong. I mean, my view is that's what the Planning Commission or whatever the NITI Aayog should do. I mean, their job is to be the eyes and ears for the PM and to hear different people.
Okay.
And what's the point of just feeding stuff from inside to the same? That's not very useful.
इसी में एक इंटरेस्टिंग चीज़ ये भी है कि जब न्यूक्लियर डील चल रही थी उस वक्त डॉक्टर सिंह ने ये कहा था कि मैं रिजाइन कर दूंगा अगर ये नहीं हो पाई तो उस वक्त ये कहा जाता है कि सोनिया ने आपको कॉल किया था, सोनिया गांधी ने, कि आप
ये कहा जाता नहीं, ये मैंने बैक स्टेज में खुद लिखा है. Yes, it is true. Actually, दो आप मिसेस गांधी की भी जो प्रॉब्लम है समझनी चाहिए, क्योंकि कांग्रेस पार्टी लेफ्ट वाज टोटली अगेंस्ट द न्यूक्लियर डील. उनकी कुछ आइडियोलॉजिकल ऑब्जेक्शन कि हमें अमेरिका पसंद नहीं, वी शुड नॉट बी आस्किंग देम फॉर एनीथिंग. आई थिंक दैट इज सिली approach. I mean, the test is, are we getting something from the Americans which we value? And the objective that Dr. Singh was following is very important. क्योंकि लोगों को इतना समझ नहीं है, because complicated है. उस वक्त जब इंडिया ने पहली न्यूक्लियर टेस्ट पोखरण 74 में की थी, उसके बाद ये जो न्यूक्लियर पावर्स थे, हमने उसको कहा था पीसफुल न्यूक्लियर एक्सप्लोजन. मतलब कि वो बॉम्ब नहीं था, तो नॉट स्मॉल विच कैन बी टेकन ऑन अ प्लेन, बट एक्सप्लोजन. ओके, तो इन लोगों ने, दे वर कंसर्न्ड कि अब इंडिया इज नियर टू बिकमिंग अ न्यूक्लियर पावर. तो इन्होंने पहले भी ये नॉन प्रोलिफरेशन ट्रीटी फ्लोट की थी, जहाँ जो 5 देश हैं जिनके पास न्यूक्लियर वेपन्स थे, मतलब यूएस, यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स, चाइना, यूके और फ्रांस, इनको माना गया था न्यूक्लियर वेपन्स पावर्स. तो इनका हक है कि आप न्यूक्लियर वेपन्स रख सकते हैं. ट्रीटी का मतलब ये था कि अदर देन दीज आप प्लीज़ लिखो कि आप न्यूक्लियर वेपन्स नहीं डेवलप करोगे. हमारा व्यू था, इंडिया का व्यू था कि ये बड़ी अनफेयर ट्रीटी है, क्योंकि आप रख रहे हो न्यूक्लियर वेपन्स और हमें कह रहे हो नहीं, और हमारे नेक्स्ट डोर चाइना है विच हैज़ अ न्यूक्लियर वेपन. दिस इज नॉट फेयर. एक्चुअली राजीव गांधी ने यूनाइटेड नेशन में कई बार कहा था कि हम अभी अग्री करेंगे कि हम न्यूक्लियर वेपन्स नहीं डेवलप करेंगे अगर आप अभी करो कि हम इसको फेज आउट कर देंगे. ये नहीं कि हम गिव अप इमीडिएटली. आप अग्री करो कि आप फेज आउट कर दोगे, हम अग्री करेंगे कि हम नहीं डेवलप करेंगे. दे आर नॉट विलिंग टू डू दैट. सो हमारा व्यू था कि भाई, इफ यू आर नॉट प्रिपेयर्ड टू गो ओवर टाइम टू एन इक्वल सिचुएशन, वी डोंट एग्री विद दिस ट्रीटी. एंड ऑफ कोर्स यू डोंट हैव टू हेल्प अस. अगर हम खुद डेवलप कर लें तो कर लें. प्रॉब्लम बिटवीन पाकिस्तान ने भी यही किया. उन्होंने भी NPT साइन नहीं की थी. ये सेपरेट मैटर है कि पाकिस्तान ने अपने आप नहीं डेवलप की. उन्होंने हेल्प ली फ्रॉम अदर कंट्रीज, मे बी आई डोंट नो, चाइना, नॉर्थ कोरिया, व्हाटएवर. लोग कहते हैं ना दैट वाज ऑल इलीगल. हमने किसी वक्त कुछ इलीगल नहीं काम किया अपनी न्यूक्लियर वेपन्स कैपेसिटी डेवलप करने में, और ये वेस्ट भी मानते हैं. okay? तो पॉइंट ये था कि व्हाई आर यू कंस्ट्रेनिंग अस इन सो मेनी अदर थिंग्स. क्योंकि इनका रूल था कि अगर आप NPT नहीं साइन करोगे तो आपके साथ कोई न्यूक्लियर कोऑपरेशन नहीं हो सकती. ये भी नहीं, हम यूरेनियम फ्यूल भी आपको देने के लिए तैयार नहीं है. तो हमारी रियल प्रॉब्लम थी कि हमारे रिएक्टर्स थे, हमारा फ्यूल कम था, तो उनकी कैपेसिटी यूटिलाइजेशन कम थी। सो ये जो न्यूक्लियर डील है, इसकी लॉजिक ये थी कि देखो, इंडिया एनपीटी साइन नहीं करेगी, लेकिन इंडिया एक चीज़ मानती है कि सम न्यूक्लियर रिएक्टर्स को हम नॉन सिविल मानेंगे और दूसरे सिविल। सिविल न्यूक्लियर रिएक्टर्स जो हैं उनको इंटरनेशनल सेफगार्ड्स लगा सकते हैं, okay? इनको आप छोड़ दो। इस एरिया में जो भी हमारा फ्यूल बनता है, अगर हम प्लूटोनियम बनाएं, न्यूक्लियर बॉम्ब बनाएं, इट्स अप टू अस। बट फॉर सेफगार्डेड रिएक्टर्स आप टेक्नोलॉजी फ्री कर दो, यूरेनियम सप्लाई फ्री कर दो, एट्सेट्रा। तो दिस वाज द ऑब्जेक्टिव। और पता नहीं क्यों लेफ्ट वाज नॉट विलिंग, व्हाटएवर इट इज। आई थिंक दे सेड, उन्होंने कहा था कि अगर आप इस डील से प्रोसीड करोगे तो वी विल वॉक आउट ऑफ यूपीए। नाउ यूपीए नीडेड लेफ्ट फॉर सर्वाइवल. Congress party obviously wanted to survive. They would have told Mrs. Gandhi कि यार please tell Manmohan Singh कि don't ruin the continuation of the government on this matter. You can understand. So she had said to him कि भाई this is wrong. So she called me and said कि भाई you know him very well. Please explain my concern. And I did. I went to him and said, I also said to him that you haven't explained to the country why you need this. Because most people didn't know. And generally left कहती है America, BJP also opposed completely. Okay. So I said to him, you got to discuss this. You got to understand people's objections and so on, and make it clear that why is it beneficial for us. तो उन्होंने पहली बार मान लिया, डॉक्टर सिंह ने। वो फर्स्ट टाइम अराउंड उन्होंने कोई रेजिग्नेशन नहीं परस्यू की, बट काफ़ी चर्चा हुई, डिस्कशन हुई। बाय देन एवरीबडी हैड अंडरस्टूड व्हाट द इशू वाज, एंड देन इट वाज प्रीटी मच रेडी टू गो द लास्ट माइल. अगेन लेफ्ट सेड नो, वी विल नॉट अलाउ यू to go to the IAEA with this proposal, the separation of powers. Without this, we could not have got the Americans to agree to anything. Okay, and Mrs. Gandhi again called me and said, "Look, I think he's not happy with the Congress feeling that the left, we should not risk the left." So I said, "I will explain to him, but I must tell you that I had explained earlier that you haven't done enough to explain to the public." Now, frankly, he has done enough to explain to the public. I don't think he's going to listen to me, but I'll convey this is your concern, which I did.
Okay.
But he obviously persuaded her. Okay, nahi, it is, we must do this, and it is mainly it is in the nation's interest. He was not saying it is I'm being Ariel or anything like that. It is not my prestige. This is in the nation's interest, and we should do it. And I mean, as it happened, I wasn't involved in those discussions, so I don't know what they said. But it is true that he went ahead. The left, the left had said we will bring a motion of no confidence, but he himself sought a motion of confidence, sort of as it were putting his neck on the block, and the left voted against it. But he was able to get the government to survive because he mobilized support from APJ Kalam, president, former President Kalam, who spoke to Mulayam Singh Yadav, KB SP should support this because it is in the nation's interest. And SP were not at all pro-Congress or anything. But it shows that, even in what looks like a very fractured kind of system, parties do see the national interest, and the left was left, lost on the edge, and the government did survive. So I thought the nuclear deal was a very big achievement. In fact, a lot of what we are doing now, which is good in my view, ये जो कर रहे हैं, मतलब various agreements and so on, defense cooperation with the US, none of this would have been possible if the nuclear deal, which gave an exemption for India from NPT, had not been signed. because all the American technology corporations contain conditions in American law that you must have, if you're not a nuclear weapons power, you must have signed the NPT. But this has now been amended, except in the case of India, providing you separate your nuclear reactors, you have an exemption. So under that, if the Americans want, we can cooperate. Of course, if the Americans don't want, they can just say no. I mean, that doesn't force them to cooperate, but you have a chance. But it's not just the Americans, it's also the French, it's also the British, it's also the Russians. Technically, it's even the Chinese. Because otherwise, since they have all agreed not to cooperate with any country that doesn't sign the NPT, it's very easy for them to say, okay, we can't help you because we have signed the, we support the NPT and you haven't signed the NPT. Now we can tell them, look, that's not the problem because the NPT has given us an exemption.
Okay. Sir, आप ओवल ऑफिस भी गए थे उस टाइम एंड यू वर क्वाइट इम्प्रेस्ड बाय जॉर्ज बुश. और उन्होंने आपने मेंशन भी किया है कि उन्होंने कहा कि हिंदुस्तान में 120 मिलियन से ज़्यादा मुस्लिम्स रहते हैं. आई एम क्वाइट इम्प्रेस्ड बाय दैट फैक्ट दैट none of them has joined Al-Qaeda.
Yes. That was a very strong, there was a very strong perception of India at that time that in spite of a very large Muslim population, India was not the source of some of the kind of anti-Western movements that were coming out of some Islamic countries. That is true.
Sir, आप थक तो नहीं गए?
नहीं.
अभी
You can carry on until I drop dead.
Okay. बोलो. Sir, satisfied हो आप अपने आप से डेप्यूटी चेयरमैन प्लानिंग कमीशन के टेन्योर में जो आपने काम किए?
नहीं, satisfied. I had a good time and I think we achieved quite a bit, but I don't think we achieved everything that we should have achieved. So it's not as if
नीति आयोग कर दिया उसको. हाँ? इसीलिए नीति आयोग बना दिया आजकल उनको.
नहीं, NITI Aayog, I have no information what they're doing, so I'm not going to comment on NITI Aayog. But certainly, देखिए, Planning Commission, we were very aware that the world is changing. In fact, when I went away to the IMF in 2001, I mean, they appointed me as head of the Independent Evaluation Office. I asked the government, Vajpayee ji's government, I was then in the Planning Commission as member, कि भाई, this is the offer, should I accept it? Because only if the government wants me to. They said, yes, you accept it. It will be good to have an Indian in this new office. So I said, okay, and I went off. And then I had to pay a courtesy call on Prime Minister Vajpayee. तो उस वक्त जब मैं गया तो PM साहब ने चाय वाय दी, बिस्किट and so on. So उन्होंने कहा भाई कुछ, do you have any advice for me? I said one thing कि जो आपने प्लानिंग कमीशन नाम है ना, ये बड़ा ओल्ड फैशन है. It reminds people of the Soviet Union. वो खत्म हो गई in 91. And I said that देखो, even the Chinese no longer have a planning commission. They have a commission for restructuring and reform. तो आप इसका नाम भी change कर दो. And you should do something different. Vajpayee ji was a very wise person. He thought about it. He never used to respond very quickly. He thought about it. He said, नहीं, जो आप उचित समझो वो करो, लेकिन नाम नहीं बदलना, क्योंकि अगर नाम बदल दिया तो लेफ्ट नाराज हो जाएगी. I was really surprised that he's bothered about whether the left would get annoyed or not. So, you know, what goes into a prime minister's mind on these things, to me it seemed very logical. Okay, change the name. But he had in mind that, you know, somehow the left will feel that this is an unnecessary provocation. But anyway, we did different things, and Manmohan Singh himself told us in the end of UPA 1, okay, you should think about how the Planning Commission should be different. And so we had some very extensive discussions, and we did have some suggestions.
उस वक्त तो 9.6% ग्रोथ रेट भी अचीव करी थी आप लोगों ने. उस वक्त तो 9.6% ग्रोथ रेट भी अचीव करी थी आप
For
लोगों
1 year, yeah. Actually, the 2-3 years before 2009,
हाँ
we achieved over 9% growth. That was a global boom period also. A lot of investments were taking place. Main point is that over that whole period, growth was pretty good. You have to, all countries go through ups and downs. So you shouldn't make the mistake of just counting the growth during the ups and leaving out the downs. But if you take the average growth rate in the UPA, beginning to end, and end was a slowdown, it still comes to 7.6%, which is higher than in the last 10 years. Admittedly, the last 10 years, you can say, have seen other challenges, COVID and also. So it's very difficult to compare. But there's no question that the record in the UPA 1 and 2 on the economic side was actually quite good, basically. That's my view.
पर सर उस वक्त आपके टाइम पे इनकम इनक्वालिटी भी तो इतनी हाई हो गई थी ग्रोथ के बाद में.
But they were we don't have any official data on income inequality. This is an important point.
Oh God.
No, see, I will say my personal view is that yes, income inequality बढ़ गई थी. But it is important that there is no official data. In fact, my good friend Sujit Bhalla, who's an economist, has been appointed by the present administration to head a committee to measure income inequality for the first time. So I think they are advising the National Statistical Survey to add some questions into the next round so that they can get a sense of what income is. Very difficult to measure income inequality. You can imagine somebody from the NSS going around Shahpur Jat and even Panchil Park. Ke bhai, aapki income kya hai? But if you go to golf links and ask them what it is, you won't even be allowed inside to ask questions. And can you imagine somebody asking some of our top corporates, who is going to ask Mukesh Ambani and Gautam Adani and Tatas and all these people? So income, you cannot get a measure of income by asking a question. So the problem of measuring income is difficult. But I do believe that income inequality badi thi. I don't think you should be surprised at that, to be honest with you. Long belief that in a process of development where most of the country is poor, and the whole idea of development is to raise it to a higher level. You cannot raise everybody at the same pace. What will happen is some fellows will go up and then other fellows will go up. In the process, inequality tends to increase. Our concern then was, is this only helping the rich or are you also helping the poor? And it's possible to help the poor also, but inequality still increases because the rich are getting more rich, which is difficult to avoid. So we were concerned by is poverty going down? And there's no doubt that poverty went down during the UPA and it has gone down even subsequently. So in India, the poverty is definitely going down, inequality is increasing.
कितना बड़ा चैलेंज मानते हो सर आप इनकम इनक्वालिटी को?
नहीं देखो, this
सॉरी टू इंटरप्ट, शाहपुर जेट गोल्फ लिंक्स और पंचिल पार्क से निकल के अगर आप गांव में जाओगे तो वहाँ पे आप देखोगे और यहाँ पे देखोगे तो रात दिन का फर्क है.
नहीं वो देखो, वो फर्क अभी भी हो.
और शायद आपने एक बार ये भी कहा था ना सर, कहा था ना शायद कि आप 10 रुपए में पेट भर सकता है एक इंडियन, ऐसा कुछ नहीं.
We had said के the daily poverty line, daily per day per person was 32 rupees. That is not our line. That was the official poverty line adjusted by inflation. ये नहीं कम. फिर हमने एक नई कमेटी सेटअप की अंडर तेंदुलकर कि भाई तुम बताओ what should be the poverty line. तो उन्होंने that committee recommended the poverty line. And that poverty line came to about 32 rupees per person. What people don't realize there is per person per day has to be converted into per family per month. Okay? So if you have a family of 5, then 32 rupees means 150 rupees per day. So if you convert that into a month, that's about 4,500 rupees or something like that a month. In rural areas, 4,500 rupees is not such a low amount in those days. देखिए, what is the minimum wage? It was higher than the minimum wage at that time. I agree with you कि हमारी जो poverty line is low.
आप आंकड़ों के खेल में बात को बता रहे हो, मैं आंकड़ों के पीछे जो लोग हैं उनकी बात करना चाहता हूँ।
नहीं देखिए
4,000 रुपए,
नहीं
32 रुपए,
नहीं
मतलब
अभी
उस वक्त भी बहुत कम थे और ये बड़ा एक
okay,
रिडिकुलस तरीके से लोगों ने
नहीं
देखा था
देखो
कि मतलब प्लानिंग कमीशन क्या कह रहा है।
बट सीरियसली अगर आप क्वेश्चन रेज करो कि भाई इज दिस द करेक्ट पॉवर्टी लाइन, मैं तो कभी ऑब्जेक्ट नहीं करूँगा कि बहुत लो है, लेकिन इसलिए एक दो चीज़ें सोचनी पड़ती हैं। उस वक्त एक इंटरनेशनल पॉवर्टी लाइन थी जो वर्ल्ड बैंक, यूएन ये सब चलाते थे। जो हमारी पॉवर्टी लाइन थी वो इंटरनेशनल पॉवर्टी लाइन की मोर और लेस द सेम थिंग। तो हमने रेज किया पॉइंट कि भाई देखो अगर ये मान रहे हैं लोग इंटरनेशनल पॉवर्टी लाइन है, तो हिंदुस्तान की पॉवर्टी लाइन उसको अगर आप हायर करोगे then you are showing more people as poor compared to other countries, which is not a good comparison. You can always raise the poverty line by saying भाई देखो हिंदुस्तान की poverty line should be higher. I have no problem. But अगर वो आप higher कर दो, फिर भी number of people below that line has gone down. Only at the start it was higher and now it is lower. So I personally think the press was not fair to us in those days because they're sensationalizing the whole thing. एक बात मुझे याद है, I forget which newspaper, which TV it was, but I remember I think the TV anchor was Sagarika Ghosh, now a distinguished member of parliament from the TMC. So Sagarika Ghosh was asking me कि भाई आप कह रहे हो कि पॉवर्टी घट गई है, कह रहे भाई लाइन अगर देखो तो ये बात सही है कि इंस्टेड ऑफ पता नहीं 400 million people below this line, there are now only 240 million people. मैंने टीवी में कहा वक्त कि देखिए आई होप यू आर नॉट शोइंग in your TV screen on the other side lots of poor people. We are not denying that there are poor people. We are just saying there are fewer than there were earlier. And she was showing that. There's me saying this, and on the other side, underneath some flyover, some very poor kids running around in the dust. So this is very difficult in public to make some of these complicated points. One of the MPs, for example, said, "अरे ये क्या है? इससे तो lunch भी नहीं मिल रहा है in the canteen of Lok Sabha." Is the cut-off line the canteen of Lok Sabha? I mean, what are these people talking about?
पर आप लोगों ने भी तो वैसा ही क्राइटेरिया दिया था ना, तो उन्होंने लोकसभा का
नहीं, हमने नहीं दिया। देखो, एक कमिटी headed by Suresh Tendulkar, who was one of the most Gandhian people I know, a very simple living, professor in Jawaharlal Nehru University or ISI, I think. He did this. So when you set up a committee to do something, you don't get up and say, no, this line is rubbish, I'm building my own line. I mean, we took his line, that's fine. But the point is, it was what was being considered as the international poverty line. Remember, poverty line does not mean a desired minimum standard. It means rock bottom. And it's shameful. You can legitimately, you could have said to us, hey, तुम क्या कह रहे हो? पहले 430 million below the poverty line थे, अब 200 and whatever 20 million है. This is disgraceful. I think I agree. But you can't say that poverty hasn't gone down, whatever else you're saying. I think you need to be clear what you want. But let me come back away from this. The moment you start arguing what is reasonable, opinions can vary hugely, and we should accept that. But I think the critical thing that you're saying is that was income inequality going up? It was. I mean, I've said that very clearly. I think a lot of people used to say, rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. This is not true. The poor are getting less poor. Because the poor are getting poorer means that they are doing worse than their fathers and mothers were. That is not true. And anywhere you go, even in the villages today, it is not true that people are worse than they were 20 years ago or 10 years ago.
पर अगर इसी चीज़ को दूसरे तरीके से देखें तो एक स्टेट आपका ऐसा है जिसकी पर कैपिटा इनकम 67,000 है, एक स्टेट आपका ऐसा है जिसकी पर कैपिटा इनकम 5 लाख है। तो अब अब
नहीं,
वो जो आपने
इनइक्वालिटी मैं मानता हूँ।
डोंट यू थिंक ये बड़े फैंसी वर्ड्स हैं सर?
नहीं देखिए
कि
इसमें
गरीब भी अच्छा हो रहे हैं।
आपकी जो पॉइंट है वैलिड है
हाँ,
कि हमारा फोकस ये नहीं होना चाहिए कि जो बिलो द पॉवर्टी लाइन है आर दे बेटर देन दे वर, नहीं, आवर पोजीशन शुड बी इज इनइक्वालिटी टू मच, दैट्स अ फेयर पॉइंट। अब स्टेट्स की जो आप बात करते हो, स्टेट की व्यू अगर आप जो रिचर स्टेट से पूछो वो कहेंगे कि हाँ हमारी इनकम हाई है, पॉलिसीज तो सेम है, जो आपको पॉलिसीज मिल रही हैं वो हमें मिल रही हैं, वी आर डूइंग अ बेटर जॉब, वी आर गेटिंग रिचर, व्हाट इज मोर, वी आर गिविंग जॉब्स टू योर फेलोज हु आर कमिंग हियर एंड दे आर आल्सो वेलकम, व्हाई आर यू कंप्लेनिंग? I'll tell you, I wrote a piece long time ago when I was in the Planning Commission as a member, saying that it is true that as a result of liberalization, some parts of the country have gained more than other parts. Because some parts of the country have responded to the new policies quicker and better, and they have benefited. Okay? So somebody in the audience got up and said, "Ke, don't you think these policies are very bad for the backward states?" So, you know, Mr. Maran, who was then minister in the Vajpayee government, Maran interrupted the meeting and he said, "No, hang on a second. I want to make a point. There is no such thing as a backward state. There are only mismanaged states." So that is the view of the South. That if you are doing badly, it's because you're not managing your position well. अब आप उससे आर्ग्यू करो, आई मीन आर दे राइट?
आप लोग उनको स्टेट्स को इतना रिलायंस देते ही कहाँ पे हो, इतनी फ्रीडम देते ही कहाँ पे थे
किसको?
स्टेट्स को?
मतलब आप आज की सरकार की बात कर रहे हो?
आप लोगों की, आपकी सरकार की,
यूपीए सरकार की?
हाँ
नहीं,
और आज भी सेम ही है। आज तो वर्स्ट हो रखा है सिनारियो कि अगर सेंटर और स्टेट में सेम गवर्नमेंट होएगी तो ज़्यादा काम होंगे। ये तो पूरे फेडरल स्ट्रक्चर को ही अलग मतलब रिडिकुलस बता रहे हो। और दूसरे तरीके से मैं ये कहना चाह रहा था कि आप स्टेट्स को ज़्यादा पावर क्यों नहीं इंश्योर करते?
नहीं, ऑन दिस लेट मी स्टेप बैक। मैं इसको मानता हूँ कि कंट्री हैज़ नाउ रीच्ड ए पॉइंट where we should give more power to the states. So I'm in agreement with that. But as I said earlier, हमारी जो लिस्ट है ना, स्टेट लिस्ट, सेंट्रल लिस्ट, कंकरेंट लिस्ट, इसको रिवाइज करना चाहिए और कई चीज़ें जो कंकरेंट लिस्ट में हैं उनको स्टेट लिस्ट में डाल देना चाहिए, एंड सेंटर शुड हैव नो रोल इन इट व्हाटसोएवर. आई एम इन फेवर ऑफ दैट पर्सनली. Of course, when I was deputy chairman of the planning commission, यही था system. We didn't address this issue. उस वक्त states were not raising this issue. उस वक्त the states were mainly concerned कि भाई आप जो centrally sponsored schemes हैं उस जरिए जो funds देते हो उसमें conditions लग जाती हैं. तो हमें conditions नहीं चाहिए, हमें free flow of funds चाहिए.
ठीक बात है.
और वो 15th फाइनेंस कमीशन या 14th फाइनेंस कमीशन ने वो कर दिया था, बिकॉज दे रेज द परसेंटेज शेयर ऑफ द स्टेट्स इन द फाइनेंस कमीशन फ्रॉम व्हाटएवर इट इज 31 to 41%, समथिंग लाइक दैट. और उसको फिट करने के लिए सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ने अपनी सेंट्रली स्पॉन्सर्ड स्कीम्स अबॉलिश कर दी. तो का मतलब जो पहले फंड्स आते थे विद सेंट्रल कंडीशनैलिटी, वो विदाउट कंडीशनैलिटी जा रहे हैं. नथिंग रॉन्ग विद दैट.
सर, हिंदुस्तान की ये जो इकोनॉमी है और इकोनॉमिक्स है, क्या कभी गरीब आदमी प्रो पुअर भी हो पाएगी कभी? क्या आप उन लोगों के बारे में भी सोच पाओगे?
भाई देखो, नहीं, हर एक गवर्नमेंट जो आई है वो प्रो पुअर की बात करती है. दैट इज करेक्ट,
बात ही करती है वो.
नहीं, बट स्टिल आई थिंक इट इज ट्रू कि आप कोई भी मेजर ले लो, अगर आप एड्रेस करो कि हैव यू डन इनफ फॉर द पुअर, आप लेजिटिमेटली कह सकते कि यू हैव नॉट डन इनफ. आई थिंक आई एक्सेप्ट दैट. इफ यू टेक द पॉइंट भाई कुछ भी बेनिफिट पुअर को मिला है कि नहीं, यू विल हैव टू कंसीड कि वेदर इट इज हेल्थ, वेदर इट इज एनी मेजर,
थोड़ा बहुत दे दिया उससे क्या होगा? मतलब तुम ठीक है, कुछ भी मतलब थोड़ा बहुत से क्या फर्क पड़ता है? एक बंदा इतना ले रहा है, एक बंदा चलो तुम ठीक है थोड़ा जिंदा रहो, थोड़ा बहुत दे देते हैं.
ये फेयर पॉइंट है कि यू हैव टू एड्रेस दैट क्वेश्चन. आई एग्री.
और एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर आप देखो, करीबन 50% लोग एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर में इन्वॉल्व हैं और जीडीपी में उनका हिस्सा ही 15-17% है पूरा।
नहीं
हाँ,
हाँ एक्चुअली दैट
प्रॉफिटेबल एग्रीकल्चर सर वो कैसे होए?
हाँ नहीं बट एक्चुअली ये आप जो कह रहे हो आई डोंट थिंक इट्स 50%, इट्स लेस देन दैट नाउ, बट प्रॉब्लम इज वैलिड दैट जिसको सेटिस्फैक्ट्री इनकम नहीं मिलती वो फार्म में जाके कहते हैं आई एम एम्प्लॉयड इन एग्रीकल्चर। मोस्ट ऑफ देम आर नॉट नेसेसरी देयर, एक्चुअली दे आर ऑल अनएम्प्लॉयड। आई मीन लॉट ऑफ डिसगाइज्ड अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट। जब लोग कहते हैं वी आर 45% एम्प्लॉयड इन एग्रीकल्चर, it just means that if they are not getting a decent job, they just go home. After COVID, यही तो हुआ था. People left from here and went home. And जब the next fellow came, तो आप क्या कर रहे हो? हम agriculture कर रहे हैं. They may be working for 1 hour a day, but they say we are working in agriculture. So I think that some of these measures are not really correct. However, I agree with you that this is an important question. Can you say that the growth that we are seeing is well or satisfactorily distributed? I would agree that it's not. I mean, look, I have myself written earlier that the growth rate is what they call K-shaped. That is a valid point, I think. Yeah.
Thomas Piketty.
But this is, I mean, you know, data also builds up over time. Let us see what Shri Surjit Bhalla's committee, its results should be available within 1 year. आप उनको क्यों नहीं बुलाते? He will be the right person.
उनके बारे में तो ये भी कहा जाता है कि ये तो ओवर एस्टिमेट कर रखा है इन्होंने, और आपने बुक में मेंशन भी किया है।
मैंने सुरजीत भल्ला का
नहीं, सुरजीत भल्ला का नहीं, मैं प्रेजेंट सरकार की बात कर रहा हूँ। आज की सरकार की अगर हम बात करें तो क्या नहीं लगता वो आंकड़ों को थोड़ा सा ओवर एस्टिमेट करके बता रहे हैं?
अरविंद सुब्रमण्यम कह रहा है।
अरविंद सुब्रमण्यम जी 22% ओवर एस्टिमेट
वो कह रहा है।
आपको क्या लग रहा है?
देखिए, I don't want to comment without having studied, and I'm quite happy after leaving the planning commission that I don't want to pronounce on. This is a issue that
आपको पढ़ने की जरूरत ही नहीं है सर, आपने पूरी जिंदगी उसमें खपा दी, आपको तो एक सेकंड में पता लग जाएगा।
आपके जो व्यूअर्स हैं, बेस्ट चीज़ ये है कि आप अशोक लाहिरी साहब जो अभी बनने वाले हैं या बन गए हैं पता नहीं, वाइस चेयरमैन नीति आयोग, उनसे उनको ये क्वेश्चन पूछो।
वो तो टीएमसी में रहे, बंगाल चुनाव था शायद इन्हीं की वजह से।
नहीं, वो टीएमसी में नहीं रहे, ही इज बीजेपी मैन।
बीजेपी में
अशोक लाहिरी इज बीजेपी।
ओके सॉरी, हां,
ही इज जस्ट बिकमिंग द न्यू चीफ ऑफ नीति आयोग।
आपसे सलाह नहीं लेते आजकल नीति आयोग के?
नहीं, नोबडी टेक्स। आई मीन आई वाज देयर अ लॉन्ग टाइम अगो। वो सलाह ले रहे होंगे फ्रॉम हिज प्रीडिसेसर Suman Berry. But you know, why do you need to ask someone who's there 10 years?
नहीं सर, इंटरेस्टिंगली मेरे को तो एक चीज ये समझ आती है कि जैसे प्लानिंग कमीशन से नीति आयोग में हम शिफ्ट हुए, एटलीस्ट थोड़ा सा न्यू इंस्टीट्यूशन।
मैं शिफ्ट नहीं हुआ हूँ।
मतलब देश शिफ्ट हुआ। तो जैसे नए इंस्टीट्यूशन में हम थोड़ा शिफ्ट हुए, तो आपको नहीं लगता कि हमारे आधे से ज़्यादा इंस्टीट्यूशन तो पुराने सड़ चुके हैं वो बिल्कुल, उनकी जगह कुछ नया रिफॉर्म्स, कुछ नए इंस्टीट्यूशन हमारे को बिल्ड करने चाहिए, रादर हम वही ब्रिटिश टाइम के इंस्टीट्यूशंस ढो रहे हैं और उनसे कुछ नहीं निकल रहे हैं, और फिर दावे के दावे, आंकड़े के आंकड़े वही हैं, बस वो वही बात है कि किसी ने कहा था कि आपके ये दावे और आपके ये आंकड़े क्या गुलाबी हैं, क्या था वो, कुछ तो था, वो शेर था सर कि ये दावे किताबी हैं कि, और मुझे याद नहीं आ रहा, सॉरी, पर मैं ये कहना ये चाह रहा हूँ कि जब नए इंस्टीट्यूशंस क्यों नहीं हम बनाते जब हमारा ऑलरेडी जो पहले के इंस्टीट्यूशन है वो ऑलरेडी खत्म ही हो चुके हैं।
नीति आयोग इज अ न्यू इंस्टीट्यूशन। आई मीन
तो उसके बारे में तो आप कमेंट कर ही नहीं रहे, कैसे?
नहीं, आई टेल यू व्हाट,
एजुकेशन के भी और वेलफेयर के भी, इंटीग्रेटेड डेवलपमेंट स्कीम्स के भी
नहीं, इसमें मैंने एक रूल लगाया, बिकॉज नीति आयोग इज अ सक्सेसर इंस्टीट्यूशन, अच्छा नहीं लगता कि मैं उस पर कमेंट करूं। यू नो, इट डजंट लुक गुड, लेट मी पुट इट दिस वे।
पर स्टिल आप क्या सोचते हो?
आई डोंट टॉक अबाउट नीति आयोग, बट इफ यू कैन टॉक अबाउट एनी पॉलिसीज, आई कैन टेल यू व्हाट आई थिंक अबाउट एनी पॉलिसी, दैट्स ओके।
पर आप आज की सरकार को आप कैसे देखते हो? कितना अच्छा ग्रोथ हो रहा है कुछ?
But right now, to be honest, around the world, it's a very difficult situation. I mean, governments will say whatever they want to say. And nowadays, quite frankly, किसी भी सरकार को देखो around the world, they are caught in this situation that no government feels comfortable in saying it's a very difficult position. The American government को देखो, British government को देखो.
Sixth largest economy बन गए हम दोबारा से.
हाँ?
Sixth largest economy बन गए, fourth से दोबारा से हम.
नहीं देखो, again this is not very meaningful क्योंकि अगर रुपी एक्सचेंज रेट 5-6% बढ़ जाए घट जाए, or your relative position moves up and down, I don't think that's very important. The truth of the matter is that our becoming fourth was not very important. So you just get a little bit above some other country, or a little bit below हो गए.
सर आपको नहीं लगता एक वो बंदा जो ऑक्सफोर्ड यूनियन का प्रेसिडेंट रहा वो एक बहुत ही अच्छा पॉलिटिशियन हो सकता था?
No, I don't think so.
क्यों?
Because you see, to be a politician, you need different skills. And to be a president of the Oxford Union, you have to persuade other members of the Oxford Union. That's a very elite group. To be a political leader, you have to persuade the people. And there's no proof, to me, there's no satisfactory proof that I could actually do that. I mean, I could say I can be a technocrat. Some political fellows want technocratic advice, they come to me, that's okay. But I don't think I could. Look, my own friend, former boss, Manmohan Singh, didn't win an election in South Delhi. Lots of people said to him that time, yes, you know, you're doing a great job as finance minister. Everybody thinks highly of you. Why don't you stand for election? Stood for election in South Delhi. Many people thought that अगर South Delhi में उन लोगों को पता नहीं है कि who is a good finance minister, so they were delighted. And some of my friends actually even worked for his campaign. I mean, I was in government, so I couldn't do that. But he didn't win. He had a narrow loss, but he didn't win. Baba Sahib Ambedkar didn't win an election. So in this country, losing an election is not a disgrace, you know. So you have to recognize some people have some skills and other people have other skills.
How do you remember your friend or mentor, Dr. Manmohan Singh?
Oh, with great affection and respect, you know.
What kind of personality he was?
Well, as I said, I've written a long lecture on him, which I will send to you if you give me. But you know, he was a very unique person actually. There's a combination of utter honesty, extraordinary simplicity, and you know, when I say honesty, I mean he really believed that you should hear different points of view, and he himself never felt that if he took a position, it shouldn't be challenged. And I thought that was, for a person in a senior political personality, that's a very important criterion. And I think it's particularly important because we are now entering a world in which the world is changing. I mean, it's changing geostrategically. It's no longer the world it was earlier. It's changing geoeconomically. It's changing in terms of climate change, completely new challenges. And it's changing in terms of technology. Because the technology that we're now seeing, according to many people, will upend existing technology. Now that's a lot of changes. Now to handle those changes, ideally, we should all think that, look, maybe everything that we've thought of before as formulae don't actually work. What is it that we have to do now to deal with this situation? And personally, I think many of the characteristics that Manmohan Singh had are the characteristics everybody needs today in order to deal with this situation.
Okay, that's the thing. अगर प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी आपको फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर बनाते हैं तो पहली चीज आप क्या करोगे?
No, I would say that I'm age-wise ineligible. Finance ministry is a very tough job. My advice is you should never have finance ministers who are not in the right age group, basically.
And what about the prime ministers?
A prime minister is a different job altogether. Prime ministers are different.
75 के बाद नहीं होना चाहिए प्राइम
हाँ?
मिनिस्टर? 75 साल के बाद प्राइम मिनिस्टर होने चाहिए?
I don't have any strong view on that. You know? I don't have a strong view on that.
सर आपकी किसी भी चीज पे स्ट्रॉन्ग व्यूज क्यों नहीं है?
No, my views are very strong. I have very strong views, for example, on the kind of reforms we need.
What about politics? Since you studied politics,
No,
philosophy and
politics,
economics.
I have a very strong view on what's the kind of political parties that I would like, but that's a personal view. So I don't kind of propagate it, basically. You know?
Okay. कौन सी पसंद है आजकल आपको पार्टी?
नहीं वो तो देखो, one of the essential things in a democracy is the right to vote in secret. So
सर आप सही में बहुत अच्छे डिबेटर थे.
हाँ, ये बात है. So okay, good.
Yeah, so we will finish it, sir. मेरी तरफ से हो गया. They want to ask 1-2 questions and we can done then.
Okay.
If you allow them, these kids.
Yeah.
हाँ
बोलो.
हाँ जी.
So my question is कि how necessary or like an aspect like it is or it was to have nationalized and regularly audited education and health sector, like to have public or to only have public schools and public health.
Yeah, that was a good point. No, I feel that you definitely need the state in both health and education. And need the state means it must also provide good services, not that it provides such lousy services that everybody just goes to the private sector. But you know, I wouldn't rule out private services in this area either. So I think our effort should be to make sure that public sector health is good or good enough. But if somebody else is providing you a competitive, better service, no harm in doing that. So let them both flourish.
But don't you think like specifically on like private schools or private education and institutions, don't you think it has amplified the class struggle?
It's a problem. I mean, it's not an easy question to answer. But let's put it this way. With the possible exception of China, and I don't know what China's position is there on education. I mean, everybody has government schools and private schools. Only thing is, most people, the private schools are much smaller. Whereas in our case, even in rural India, 50% of the guys are going to so-called private schools. But actually what that shows is that although we have a public school system, we're running it so badly that, you know, I find it very difficult to believe that we have a basic position where demonstrated proof that we are running a public school system which is so bad, and the solution is we should make everything public. I don't think that makes sense to me.
Okay. Yeah. Done. Yeah.
So recently we saw that a lot of AI things happening in the world, and specifically India's technological service sector faced a lot of hits, like Infosys, T6, all of these companies. A lot of their market valuing. So in the past year, almost 20% of their market cap has been wiped out. And this was a sector which has driven Indian economy to a very high extent, because post-liberalisation, if you see, the service sector was quite strong and it was easy to pick up. But why is it that, let's say, what China did, they were able to, let's say, put a very strong manufacturing sector, whereas India was not able to do that to such extent? And because manufacturing sector, it employs a lot more people than the service sector, and it also produces. And that's why we're seeing if our productions are not going up, we will see problems in exports and a lot of things. So, what sort of reforms are now needed for a stable economy for the coming age? Which India needs right now, and also the manufacturing question.
That's too broad a subject to give a quickie answer on. You know, you really want a reform agenda for the future, taking account of modern technology. I don't have a quick answer to that. It's a tough question, but I don't have a quick answer to that.
Okay. Done.
Okay. Yeah. Good.
Yeah. Say it. You just want to say. Yeah.
Okay.
Since you quoted Ambedkar and he said that villages are den of ignorance, and you also said that society is very fragmented. So I was wondering, like, how does caste factor in when it comes to policy making, or do you even consider caste?
You know, this is interesting, a point you make. I personally think, if you look at my own experience, we never thought of caste as anything having any implication other than some reservations are necessary. I mean, I think everybody accepts, certainly in the case of scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, and now even OBCs. But beyond that, I don't think anyone actually thought, okay, given the sociological nature of caste, what is it that you should do? I think we didn't take caste sufficiently seriously. My generation certainly didn't. Now, I'm not a sociologist, but I have some sociologist friends, and I always tell them, I come to think about it, your subject is more important than mine, because if you see the importance of caste in the way people's lives are conducted, and see how little role it plays in any economic analysis, there's a big divide, basically.
Okay, done. Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.